So here in the third installment of Absolute Superman, we see so much more than we usually would about not only Superman and him as a child, but Krypton as a whole, as we find out a possible world-shattering revelation. And so with that, we actually pick up years ago on Krypton, back when it was mostly still a healthy planet. And now this is where things get interesting, because usually in the main DC universe, to my knowledge at least, we don't really get too much of Clark's on Krypton life, simply because, well, he got shot into space towards Earth when he was nothing more than a baby. But here things are different. Here in the Absolute universe, he is older, he's a child, he actually grew up with his Kryptonian parents in the flesh. And later, as we maybe might find out, maybe his parents don't seem to share fate that they usually would. But here on Krypton, we see Superman, or Kal-El, was a little bit of a troublemaker. No, he wasn't a wild or rebellious kid, but instead he went against the grain of Krypton and its current tradition in society. School was always a challenge for him. So on Krypton, you basically only have a couple of avenues growing up. Everybody is shifted through into these very specific societal roles. You have the Law Guild, where basically people go to become cops, dealing with anything with Kryptonian law. Then you have the Science Guild, where basically the smartest top of top people go to use their intelligence to build and rule over Krypton. And then you have people all the way at the bottom, the Labor Guild, the people who actually are hands-on the ground, slaving away mining, construction, farming, to actually produce tangible things for the other people on Krypton. And for Kal-El, not only was he happy to be inside of the Labor Guild, but that was the field his parents are in. Because as we will find out, not only was Superman different from a whole lot of other Kryptonians, but so were his parents, which he probably got it from. Because dare I say, from what we can infer from the story so far, Jor-El and Lara, his father and mother respectively, are some of the most hardworking and kind-hearted Kryptonians versus the normal societal cruel and selfish. But while Kal is out with his parents hiking in the Kryptonian forest, we see them go to a special place, a structure looking like a giant red version of the Fortress of Solitude, which is a place that Superman, or Kal-El, has came to consider a second home, which of course is just foreshadowing his eventual, or presumably in this Absolute universe, things are obviously different, but his potential residence on the Fortress of Solitude on Earth. And while all three of them are here, plus Krypto, which is cool to see him introduced, and I wonder if he made it back to Earth, but still, while they're all here, we see this is the time where his parents essentially go to confront Kal-El about his grades and him flunking out in school, with them specifically bringing up the point how Kal-El has been refusing to use the Science League's Luminarium, which is essentially a giant database spanning thousands of years of Kryptonian knowledge, and it writes the report for them, essentially a super advanced AI. And instead, Kal-El has been deciding to write it himself, something that not only goes against 3,000 years of Kryptonian tradition, but is uniquely frowned upon. But as Kal-El says, he just can't help it. His words make him happy, which I just love how this sets up his love for journalism, which he eventually does at the Daily Planet in the normal universe. But here it takes it a step further, because it's actually very wrong to do on Krypton, and how that's not the norm. Clark is an outcast. He is different from all of his other fellow Kryptonians. And here it seems like his parents are almost disapproving of Clark's methods, with his father going on to say, well, it's not only affecting your grades, but getting you into trouble. And your mother and I, we've talked about this a lot, so keep it up. Because yes, in a twist that even confuses Kal-El himself, his parents don't actually care. If anything, they encourage it. They encourage Clark to be different, to be special in his own unique way, even if that goes against what is considered normal in this Kryptonian society. Because his mother then goes on to say she doesn't care about what his grades say or his school. She already knows that he is the sharpest, most caring kid in the whole world, and they trust him to find his own path. Which, seeing Kal-El here, surrounded by nothing but love and positivity, we know something must go horribly wrong in the foreseeable future for him to be how he is on Earth, a distant traveler on an entirely different world, lost and purposeless, drifting through life. And right here is the pivotal moment where we actually start to see that downfall. His parents are the first one to see it, the first one to notice something isn't right, and how whatever they were doing, bonding, exploring, family time, has to now wait for something extreme. Because his parents, who are both farmers and engineers and are both highly intelligent, we find out that something is wrong with the planet itself and how they have been experimenting, building something, trying to figure out a solution to a very extravagant problem. Because the comic goes on to say, Jor-El, his father, has spent a lot of time taking samples from deep within the mountain, and at night, Kal-El can even swore he heard his parents crying, sobbing. And ever since the accident at the mine, his father has seemed distant and distracted. Day in and day out, both his mother and father have been building something, tinkering, coming up with a solution that, frankly, is not a guarantee, nor will the other people in ruling class of Krypton possibly agree to, with Jor-El, Kal-El's father, going on to say the proof that he has gathered is irrefutable, and what's going to happen could be months from now, or it could be literal days. And even though whatever they're talking about seems to be shrouded in some mystery, we see Kal-El himself go on to explore and try to solve this mystery himself. Because as we find out, to absolutely no one's surprise, something is wrong with Krypton itself, the entire planet. It's dying. crying out for help. Farmland, crops, animals, everything living was slowly withering away and no one could explain why, as a poisonous green ooze seeps up from the ground, killing anything it touches, which in my opinion is going to be the basis for this universe's kryptonite, or at least I assume so, and it would only make sense, you know? But it seems here it is in some type of gas, which is different from the crystallized form we normally see it in. Of course, the elites of Krypton in the higher up echelon go on to report that this is nothing out of the usual and everything is okay. It is just natural gas leaks that will come and go and everybody will be fine. Of course, we know this is nothing but lies and potentially they are hiding something huge. And so a week later, after Kal-El has made his personal discovery of what's truly going on, he and his class took a field trip to the city of Kandor. And along the way, he just started to put everything all into writing. Everything that he has seen, that he has gathered, that he knows about the truth of what's really going on. But again, personal writing, especially something that the higher ups are trying to hide, this is a big no-no. But before he can stop himself, he already submitted his story to the school's news board. But of course, by the time they actually got to their destination at Kandor, the story was removed and deleted. All the personal notes remotely from his tablet removed and gone forever. And directly because of this, there was a discipline appointment set for his parents to see the school administrator. But because of the events that we see shortly, they will never make it to that meeting. Instead, their lives will change forever for the worse. Because as we see Cal here on his field trip to one of the giant towers and corporations working for the Science Guild, we see Clark here just at the right place, right time for him to witness something that would change his life forever. He sees his actual father, Jor-El, being dragged out by the guards because he has taken all of his discovery, all of his research. Knowing that the planet itself is doomed and dying, he is trying to take it to the Science Guild to let everybody know, to warn everyone that their lives are in danger. And what do they do with this potentially saving information? They instead beat him and call what he is doing scientific heresy. Because of course, the Science Guild of Krypton can never be wrong. They are in full control, and anyone that says otherwise, especially if you're in the Laborer Guild, the lowest tier of society here, you just go straight in a cell, with Kal-El being forced to watch his father be tased and beat in front of him. And you know, previous to this before, Kal-El has been a pretty reserved kid. He has never been exposed to any real violence, nor has he had any reason to. But here something snaps, something changes within him. Previous to this moment, he doesn't think he has ever raised his voice before, yelling out for them to get away from his father. He clenched his fist so tight it throbbed with anger. He was enraged, wildly confused, and yet somehow he was utterly helpless. There was nothing he could do as he watched the officers lead his father away. And instead, he does the one thing he can do, rushing back home to get help from his very intelligent and frankly very capable mother. And you know, I'm not frankly sure if it's ever fully explained or fully explored in the main DC universe what Superman's mother is like, his Kryptonian mother. You know, more of the focus is usually on Jor-El, his very intelligent father. But here in this universe, we actually get to see what his mother is like. And frankly, I don't blame Jor-El, because as soon as Kal-El goes to tell his mother what happened, we see immediately, all hands on deck, her rushing to go to help. Because what man wouldn't want a wife who, if you're in trouble, no questions asked, boom, she's just ready, suiting up, gearing up to help you out and has your back. Because not only is she very capable, but this is a scenario that they have been preparing for, which we see her in a pretty awesome looking suit, the same one that currently Superman is wearing back on Earth in the future, and with her with a ginormous looking gun, which we later finds out shoots literal lava at his enemies. Which if that isn't just an insane weapon that fits this whole absolute universe, I don't know what is. But as she geared up, we see her tell Kal-El that yes, she does actually want him to come with her to save his father. But if anything does go wrong, he is to get on his bike and run, come back here as fast as you can, back to safety. And so with that, moving over to the Law Guild, you know, the section of Kryptonian society where the officers and enforcers reside. And here we see all hell break loose as she comes blasting in, defeating everyone she can, looking for Jor-El. Not only that, but we see Krypto get a little bit in the action as well, zooming in, taking out guards of his own, because as we find out that the technology that's in his cape is the same one that Superman has now, is frankly very powerful. But because they are intruders, we see the active defense system come to life, targeting Lara, Superman's mother, getting ready to destroy her. But her invention, the almost nanotech suit, is very capable and powerful, as it shields around her, protecting her, then going on to destroy each and every drone, as you see a pretty menacing pose of her with the mask on and the suit finally revealed. And you know, it seems like this technology that they have made is pretty unstoppable, as she is able to get to Jor-El and eventually free him. And so while all of this is going on, we see what Kal-El is doing throughout all of this chaos, with him eventually making his way towards the tech and the computing part of this base, as he even makes mention in his head that yes, while they are here and got through, this was too easy. This place should have been swarming with other officers, shock troopers, and judge generals, but it just wasn't. There was only base enforcers here. And just why was that? Where is everybody? And the answer even shocks Kal-El himself, as we find out the ruling class of Krypton, the elites, have been building starships right under the noses of everybody. Because of course, yes, they have known entirely too well of what is going on within the planet. So instead of trying to quell this problem and help everybody else, the selfish elites were planning to just ditch everyone to die and saving their own life, to find refuge on a different planet and save only them. But after rescuing and escaping with Jor-El this time, we see his parents finally start to reveal the secret they have been keeping from Kal-El, that Krypton is dying. Fortunately though, Kal-El has already figured it out from his own journaling and researching, and has came to his own conclusion about what he thinks is going to go on from here. As he goes on to say and tell to his parents, "You want to shoot me into space, to save me, but just me, all alone, and wearing the spacesuit that mom has made when she was a kid." You know, obviously referencing the usual origin of Superman, you know, his whole planet on the brink of extinction, yet the last son of Krypton makes it out and survives. Except, you know, Supergirl, Krypto, and a handful of other Kryptonians, but you know the general premise, he's the last survivor. Instead here, that gets flipped on his head, because his parents goes on to say, "No, well, you're mostly right, but no, we would never go without you." As it turns out, they've been building something in secret themselves, an entire ship of their own, because yes, they are going to go together, which yeah, like I said, has crazy ramifications for Superman on Earth, because if he's there, possibly his parents are there too. But not only that, remember in the beginning how I said his parents are probably some of the most intelligent and best of Krypton of what they have to offer? Well, we see why they built a ship this big. Because not only them, but their cousins, their neighbors, as many Kryptonians as the ship can hold, they are bringing them off Earth to save everyone they can. And their only problem with this is they wish they could have built a ship big enough for the entire planet. Because yes, as the Science League, the other intelligent people of Krypton, they were selfish. They got off the planet leaving everyone to die, whereas the good-hearted and willed Jor-El and Lara are selfless and built a ship to save everyone they can. Which raises a whole new batch of questions, because we know Superman, Kal-El, was able to make it to Earth safe and sound. So what happened to his parents and or the bunch of other Kryptonians that were supposedly coming with him? Maybe there's a secret underground hideout of superpowered Earth Kryptonians with powers of that of Kryptonians under a yellow sun. Or another path, something equally as possible, something still happened in Superman, unfortunately is still the last survivor of his home planet. But no, there's more, as now we cut back over to the other side of the universe and forward in time to present day as we pick up in central Kansas, specifically in Smallville at a senior living home, where we see Martha Kent herself, you know, the Earth Mother of Superman, and unfortunately she has seen better days. It looks like she is at death's door as she calls out for her lost son to fly back to her, back where he belonged, which is just a funny dichotomy where we see Batman over an absolute Batman with his mother still alive versus Superman, his mother, his Earth Mother, dying, both named Martha, except both flipped from what they usually are. But with that and now a whole new slew of questions, we come to the end of this Absolute Superman 3rd issue and the end of this video. So yeah, that was the next installment of Absolute Superman. And in my opinion, I feel like this book has been what it's been claimed to be the most out of the other Absolute titles. Something new and completely different from the source material. Because yes, even though Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman are different enough, they are still very clearly, you know, Batman and Wonder Woman, just under different circumstances. Here, Superman is almost unrecognizable from what he usually is. You know, this beacon of hope, this Boy Scout, who seems like no matter where he goes, he's inspiring and helping people out. Whereas here in Absolute Superman, he's this depressed young adult, unsure of what his purpose is, what he's supposed to do, in the role he now occupies being a survivor from a different planet. A completely new take on Superman that, frankly, in my opinion, we haven't seen before. And yes, to me, that is the fun part. But if you have enjoyed and made it this far, leave a like. Or subscribe if you're new and want to see more content just like this. As always, this was the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.